Hi there, welcome to Strawberry Starlight Podfix, and today I will be reading Chapter 1 of One Man's Trash is Another Man's New Sun, the first installment of Eraserhead and His Feral Dumpster Child, written by TheFoggyLondonView on AO3. The fic will be linked in the description down below. Enjoy. When Shota had gone down to figure out what the hell kept kicking a fuss in the dumpster behind his apartment again, he'd expected to find a raccoon or something he'd have to call animal control for. What he wasn't expecting was instead to pull a child hissing and spitting out of said dumpster. The boy was filthy and small, but making a valiant effort to force Shota to drop him through the sheer power of wiggling and snarls. Unfortunately for the child, his efforts were wasted as Shota easily kept his grip on the small boy. "What were you doing in there, kid?" The boy just hissed at him. "Do you have a name?" He only received another hiss. "I'm Pro Hero Razorhead, but my civilian name is Shota Aizawa." The kid flipped him off, clearly annoyed with the situation, but still didn't reply with actual words. "Where do you live?" This time, while the boy did growl at him, he also pointed at the dumpster in response, having seemed to realize that simply not giving an answer wasn't going to get him out of this. Ah, so the boy was homeless and living in a dumpster. Cool. Free child. "All right then, I guess you're mine now," Shota said, adjusting his hold to carry the child under his arm like a sack of potatoes. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up and put some good food in you." The child threw a fit the entire way back up to Shota's apartment, hissing and growling and wiggling, and just generally making his displeasure about being removed from the trash known. Luckily, his neighbors are used to him occasionally dragging agitated feral cats home, so no one even stirred. Of course, that also might be one of the reasons none of his neighbors will talk to him, but he never had a desire to speak to them in the first place, so that's hardly a loss. The landlord, of course, knows he's a hero and purposefully turns a blind eye to anything weird he does, dismissing it as hero business he doesn't want to be involved in. Once inside, he locks up and then carries the kid around as he gathers a towel and some clean clothes before taking him to the bathroom and setting him down in the currently empty tub. The kid glares at him, tense and growling, but doesn't try to leave the tub even as Shota turns his back to set the towel and clothes on the counter, seeming more inclined to get ready to fight his way out, rather than try to get around Shota in the small space. Or maybe he just wanted Shota to leave already so he can get clean, because the child has so much dirt on him. The only clear detail of his appearance currently visible is the vibrant green of his eyes. "You look old enough to bathe yourself, so I'll leave you to take care of the dirt situation on your own. Help yourself to as much soap as it takes. I left you a towel and some clean clothes you can use when you're done," Shota instructed, sitting on the edge of the tub. "I know the clothes are way too big for you, but you're just gonna have to deal until I can get something smaller." All he received in response was a glare and a scowl. "Do you know how to work the tub?" Shota asked. The kid cast a brief glance at the faucet with suspicious eyes, grumbling in what definitely sounded like human words, but at a volume and speed that made it completely unintelligible, before going back to glaring at Shota. Taking that as his answer, Shota very slowly reached over and turned the knob, causing water to flow out of the faucet. The kid immediately scrambled to the opposite end of the tub to get away from the water. "It's just water, kid," Shota said. "It won't hurt you." The kid seemed unconvinced, making Shota wonder if he ever even had a bath before, if this was his reaction to it. After adjusting the knobs until the water temperature was comfortable, warm but not too hot, Shota caught some in his cupped hand and gently splashed the kid with it. The child sputtered, looking extremely offended that his dirt-covered clothing and skin were now very slightly damp in a few places. He splashed the kid again, using more water than just a handful this time, despite the kid's clear offense. See, it's fine. You'll feel better when you aren't coated in dirt. The kid growled at him with a scowl firmly placed on his dirty face. Don't you want to be clean? Not have to deal with this dirt on your skin? Shota persisted. Have your hair free from mats and not itch? Don't you want soft, clean clothes? Clean fabric that's warm and soft? The kid glared at him, but his angry green eyes were conflicted. He clearly wanted to be stubborn, but being faced with a chance to finally get clean again after who knows how long, it was very obvious the dirt still coating his skin and his filthy clothes were becoming more and more uncomfortable. He reached up and poked at the rat's nest that was his hair unhappily, making a distressed face and whining miserably at the feeling of greasy matted strands. I have some stuff that'll get just about anything out of hair and make it easy to comb through. How about you sit there while I wash your hair, and then I'll leave and let you handle the rest? Normally, Shota would have let the kid wash his hair on his own, but the hair shampoo he intends to work through that mess is very strong and needed to be used carefully. The kid pouted grumpily at him for a bit, making more growling noises, but eventually seemed to decide that the state of his hair was dire enough to make sacrifices such as swallowing his pride for a bit and letting his dignity be a bit wounded. He pulled his shoes off to not get them wet and set them on the tub room, then sat quietly while he half glared, half pouted at Shota, waiting to have more water splashed on him. Shota grabbed the detachable shower head and turned the water a bit warmer before switching the flow over to the shower head. The kid hissed angrily and swiped at Shota when he got sprayed with the shower head, immediately becoming drenched. Shota ignored the constant growling noise coming from the kid and just focused on getting him sufficiently soaked before grabbing a certain bottle of shampoo and pouring a good amount of the on the kid's head. The shampoo is a special formula developed to get rid of anything that would require hair to be cut. Quirks are so varied that it's always a possibility that a hero will be hit with one that will completely wreck their hair, and with image being so important to Limelight heroes, it's hardly a surprise that products were developed to fix the issue. After all, you can't expect Present Mic or All Might to shave their head because someone used a gum quirk to muck up their hair. Their style is a part of their trademark. In this case, Shota's not sure what exactly is in the kid's hair, but he's not taking chances. The kid made growling noises when Shota touched his hair and looked about ready to snap at him, glaring even harder. Shota ignored the attitude and just worked the shampoo into the kid's gross matted hair. The kid's hair was so dirty there weren't even suds, but eventually the shampoo worked through whatever was in the kid's hair and Shota rinsed it out before putting regular shampoo and conditioner in. The kid seemed to grow dazed as he massaged the shampoo and carefully worked out what knots he could, like a cat when you scratch between their ears just right. The calm daze didn't last, of course, and the kid snapped out of it when he was hit with more water for the second rinse, growling at Shota again. Now that the kid's hair was clean, it became clear that his hair was actually some shade of green, not the disgusting brownish black it started as. The moment he quit being sprayed, the kid shook his head like a wet dog, splattering heavy droplets of water everywhere, including on Shota. His hair, of course, was thick and continued to drip even after the kid was satisfied with the mess he was making. Shota just rolled his eyes at the petty move. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use the faucet. Then you're going to take a bath while I make you something to eat, Shota instructed. Got it? The kid glared at him for a bit, making more low growling noises, but when Shota just raised an eyebrow, the kid begrudgingly nodded. Apparently, at this point, the kid realized he wasn't getting out of taking a bath. He watched carefully as Shota showed him how to use the faucet and pointed out all the soap. Shota handed him a washcloth then, after observing just how dirty the kid was, a few more extra washcloths just in case. Before leaving, Shota quickly removed anything sharp or dangerous from the room, but once that was done, he had left the room to let the kid bathe in private. While the kid hopefully got clean, Shota spiffed up the guest room, then went to make dinner. It was already very late, but he needed to get some kind of food into the kid before he let him go to bed. He made something easy. Who knows when the last time the kid had a full meal was, and hoped the kid would eat it. After a good hour, he went to check on the kid, knocking on the door to the bathroom. Hopefully, the kid actually bathed. He doesn't particularly want to have to force him. After a moment, the kid opened the door. Upon seeing Shoda blocking the way out, hissed and started kicking him in the shins. With a sigh, Shoda just scooped up the child and carried him, hissing and growling, but otherwise not fighting it, under his arm once again, like a sack of potatoes, to the kitchen. The child had indeed bathed and was clear of dirt and grime. Even if he was still complaining, at least he didn't smell any more. The clothes Shoda had given him were far too big, but the child had managed to tear and tie them to make them fit better, though Shoda was certain he wouldn't ever be able to use that pair himself again. R.I.P. in peace, fuzzy Hello Kitty PJ Pants. You will be missed. The child finally calmed a bit when Shoda placed him in a chair, though he continued to glare at Shoda while grumbling to himself. Now that he was clean, Shoda could see the kid had freckles dotting his cheeks. There were also bruises and scars on what skin was visible, signs of what life had been like on the streets. The kid had clearly done his best to dry his hair, and while it was very obviously still damp, it had puffed up into what would soon be some serious curls. Of course, they still needed to comb through the mats, but that wouldn't be a huge problem. As someone with long hair whose best friends also have long hair, Shota got enough various hair products hidden around his apartment to stock a hair salon. Whatever knots are forming in the kid's hair don't stand a chance against his professional grade detanglers. He will have to order some shampoo specifically for curly hair, though. At first, Shota was worried the kid would run while he was at the counter getting their dinner, but the kid didn't seem particularly interested in leaving despite seeing the opening, and actually seemed fairly relaxed in spite of his pissy attitude. Shota soon placed chopsticks in a bowl of rice, chicken, and vegetables in front of him. It's not complicated or too strong with seasoning, just enough to be tasty but not overwhelming. Even if the kid chose to pick through it and only eat what he liked, at least all of it was healthy. The child sniffed at it suspiciously, then went back to glaring at Shota while making low growling noises. Shota, figuring maybe the kid didn't trust it, took a small bit from the kid's bowl with his own chopsticks and ate it to prove it wasn't tainted with anything. After seeing nothing happen to Shota as a result, the kid started shoving the food into his mouth with his hands. Shota watched the kid stuff his face with mild fascination as he casually ate from the serving of food he'd gotten for himself. On the one hand, the kid wasn't picky and didn't even scrunch up his nose at the vegetables. On the other, he would completely ignore the utensils Shota provided for him, not even caring the food was still hot. Did he not know how to use them, or was it simply a matter of being faster? Was he even tasting his food at the rate he was going? Kid, slow down. I'm not gonna take it for you. See, I have my own bowl. I don't need yours. And use the chopsticks I gave you, not your hands. The kid made a point to keep direct eye contact with Shota, as he made a show of pushing the chopsticks off the table like an annoyed cat before shoving another handful of rice into his mouth, then licking the remaining rice off his fingers. Shota sighed and decided to leave it for now. At least the kid's hands were clean. The kid ate the entire bowl and then asked for more. Well, he didn't exactly ask. It was more he made a distressed whining noise when he found the bowl empty and showed the empty bowl to Shota, shoving it towards his face while making more whining noises. Shota doubts the kid can eat another full bowl, but you can have seconds, but while I'm getting it, you should tell me your name. He tried to make it clear in his wording that he would get the food regardless, but that information wasn't the price of being fed. The kid scowled at him and hissed anyways. Okay, I get it. You don't want to talk like a person. Can you write? The kid eyed him for a moment, then nodded hesitantly. Shota took the kid's bowl and replaced it with a pad of paper and a pen he pulled from a drawer. Write your name while I get you more food. The kid scribbled away, grumbling unintelligibly to himself, until Shota presented him with more food, whereupon he threw the pen and pad of paper directly into Shota's face and began stuffing rice into his mouth again. Shota picked up the notepad from where it landed after smacking him and tried to read what the kid had written. Well, try wasn't the right word. It was actually fairly good penmanship, if not a bit rushed. The real surprise was the kid didn't just write his name. No, he also wrote a lot of choice words, calling Shota some rather creative things as he demanded to be put back in the dumpster. Well, Shota was absolutely not going to put him back in the dumpster. This kid is his now. Clearly no one else wants him if he was living in a dumpster. Plus, the kid acts like a weird feral cat, and Shota is very good with weird feral cats. It's good he has a name now, though. Shota isn't good at naming things, and he probably would have just kept calling him Kid otherwise. He hopes Izuku Midoriya is the kid's real name, and not something made up on the spot. That would be troublesome. After a minute, Shota looked up from the notepad and noticed the kid, Izuku, slowing down. He was still eating, trying to get as much food as possible, but he was chewing a lot slower, eyes beginning to droop as the feeling of being warm, clean, and fed started to make him sleepy. Izuku soon begins nodding off, having to jolt himself awake several times as he licks the rice off his fingers. By the time he's about halfway through his second serving, Izuku is hardly holding on to the waking world, not even processing the energy to do more than grumble when Shota wiped the excess food off his hands and face with a napkin. Okay, bedtime, Shota told the tired child, scooping Izuku up properly this time now that the kid is half asleep. Izuku continued to let out unintelligible grumbles, slumped against Shota's chest with his head resting against Shota's shoulder, but just isn't awake enough to do anything besides let himself be carried. Shota takes him into the guest bedroom and sets him down on the soft bed with its clean sheets and warm blankets. It was a comfy bed, mostly used by Shota's friends or the foster cats Shota occasionally takes in, and Izuku was out like a light the moment he lay down on it. Shota made sure Izuku was properly covered with the blanket as he softly snored, completely passed out. After making sure the window was locked, they're way too high up to risk Izuku trying to climb out of it. Should he wake up in the middle of the night? Shota left the room. He closed the door most of the way, but left it open enough to easily hear any activity that may or may not start up. Should Izuku wake? With Izuku fast asleep, Shota made clean work of cleaning up the dishes and leftover food, grabbed his phone to make a phone call on his way to the bathroom. It was, frankly speaking, a mess in there. The tub had a thin layer of dirt coating it, left behind presumably after the dirty water had been drained, and the floor was covered in large puddles, like Izuku had purposely poured dirty bath water onto the floor just to be an inconvenience out of spite. Izuku's old dirty clothes were still on a soak pile next to the tub, along with the very filthy, now used, towels and washcloths. Shota left his phone on the counter, then gathered the soaked and dirty pile, transferring it all quickly to his washing machine hidden in the hall closet. Before starting it, he made sure to go through Izuku's pockets so not to ruin any of it in the wash, finding a variety of things including a library card and a flash drive in a Ziploc baggie he was sure to leave near Izuku in the guest room. With the laundry being taken care of, Shota went back to the bathroom. After retrieving more towels, a mop, and some of the cleaning supplies he'd removed from the bathroom earlier to clean up the rest of the mess. Before getting started, though, Shota briefly picked up his phone and called a police contact, putting it on speaker before leaving his phone safely on the counter so he could talk and work at the same time. Hello, Eraserhead, the voice came from the phone. Sukauchi, Shota greeted. You got a few minutes? I need a favor. Yeah, what do you need? Sukauchi's voice came through the phone. I found a feral child in a dumpster, Shota replied bluntly. There was a choking noise from the phone. Come again? I found a kid kicking up a fuss in the dumpster behind my apartment, Shota repeated as he mopped the water on the floor. I'm keeping him. No, Eraser, you can't just keep him. That's kidnapping, Sukauchi said, sounding somewhere between lost and exasperated with this conversation. You need to bring him to the station so we can find his parents or a social worker. Kids with parents aren't coated with dirt and bruises and trying to live in dumpsters, Shota replied flatly. Besides, it won't be kidnapping if you give me custody of him. I have an emergency fostering license for a reason. It shouldn't be that hard. Do you even know how to raise a child? I'm a teacher, and I fostered lots of cats. It can't be that hard. I'm serious, Eraserhead. Sukauchi's exasperation could be heard through the phone. You need to bring him down here to be interviewed about his situation. He's asleep. Shota put the mop and rolled up his sleeves and started scrubbing the tub. So I suggest you think real hard about whether or not you're actually prepared to deal with this. The kid's got a feral attitude, and he's gonna be even more pissed if I have to wake him up and make him leave his nice warm bed. So tell me, detective, is that really what you want to be trapped in a room with right now? There was a short moment of silence. Give me everything you know about him, and I'll let you have temporary custody while I look for any family or guardians and then have them investigated. If I come up with nothing, or his parents or guardians don't pass the investigation, then we'll talk about permanent placements. Fair enough, Shota agreed. His name is Izuku Midoriya. He's got curly green hair, green eyes, and freckles. He's pretty small, probably a preteen, but if he's been on the streets long enough, he might be older than he looks. His quirk? No idea. You didn't ask? Shota sighed. Sukauchi, he hasn't spoken in human speech once. The closest I've heard him get is him grumbling to himself, but I couldn't make out what he was saying. Other than that, all his vocalizations have been growling, hissing, and whining noises. There was a sigh from Sukauchi's end. If he doesn't talk, how do you know his name? Did he have an ID or... They gave him a notepad and pen, obviously. Shota rolled his eyes. He's got very good penmanship and a very strong vocabulary. To be honest, I get the sense he could talk if he wanted to, but he prefers to hiss at people instead. He's basically a feral cat. Did he write anything besides his name? He called me some creative things and claimed that he was fine on his own and didn't need my help before demanding to be put back in the dumpster I found him in. Other than that, no, Shota said. To be fair, though, at the time he was waiting for me to get him a second serving of dinner, so he lost interest in writing profanity when the food was placed in front of him. Give me a minute and I'll see if I can find anything in the missing child database. Sure, if you hear water, it's because I'm cleaning and you're on speaker. Shota managed to wash the last of the dirt from the tub by the time Sukauchi pulled up results. Okay, it took a minute, but I've got a hit that fits the name and description you gave me. Sukauchi's voice came through the speaker. Izuku Midoriya, age 13, birthday June 15th. Parents are deceased in quirk. Oh, poor kid, he's quirkless. That can't have made things easy for him. Even more reason to leave him with me instead of handing him over to some random family member or foster home, Shota huffed. At least you know for a fact that I don't give two shits about whether or not he has a quirk. That's true, but I'm going to have to look into this more. According to his files, social services has had a very hard time keeping him from running away from both them and his foster placements over the years, and an even harder time finding him again after. If his file is right, then this time he's been missing for almost 10 months. You do that. I'll take good care of him in the meantime. Yeah, okay. Good luck with that, Sukauchi said. I'll call you when I have more information. The line disconnected, and Shota finished up his cleaning, then put away his supplies. He really should get some child locks now that he has Izuku. Now that the bathroom was cleaned, Shota changed the laundry from the washer to the dryer and then went to check on Izuku again. The kid was still fast asleep, snoring softly while drooling slightly onto his pillow. Since being put in bed, he'd curled himself into a little ball in his sleep, completely cocooned in his blankets. Poor thing must have been exhausted to pass out so thoroughly. Shota leaves him be and exits the room again. Izuku deserves a good night's sleep. Izuku may have written that he doesn't want a home, but Shota's pretty sure he's just hurt and distrustful. All his bratty behavior and attitude came off as defensive, but not scared or aggressive. He simply wasn't used to Shota yet, and it could take some time for him to be comfortable with his new surroundings. That's fine. Shota can be patient. He'll be whatever Izuku needs so he won't have to feel like he has to run anymore. He doesn't usually make impulsive decisions, but something in Izuku's big, defiant eyes got to him. He's gonna take such good care of this kid. Alright, that was chapter 1. Again, everything will be linked in the description. Hope to see you in the next one.